Transpiration in plants. The large amount of water is absorbed by the plants, but a small fraction of the total water is used up by the plants and the remaining excess amount is lost in the environment through the process of transpiration. So let's discuss about transpiration in detail. What is transpiration? The loss of water in the form of vapours from the aerially exposed parts of the plant is termed as transpiration. Around 98 to 99% of the water is lost by the process of transpiration through the exposed surface of the plant. The major part of the water is lost by way of transpiration from the leaves which have a large surface area. This transpiration is really very useful for the plants mainly for two reasons. Firstly, to get rid of the excess water absorbed by the roots, and secondly, for cooling the plants in the hot weather. Process of transpiration. To understand how the transpiration takes place in a plant, let's discuss about an experiment to demonstrate the process of transpiration, how it occurs. Experiment to demonstrate transpiration in plants. For this experiment, let's take a medium-sized potted plant. Now, we are going to cover the plant with a transparent polythene bag and tie this polythene bag around the base of the stem. After this, we are going to leave this potted plant in the sunlight for few hours. After few hours, it will be observed the drops of water appearing on the inner side of the polythene bag. So, through this observation, it shows that the water vapor is evaporated through the plant leaves by the process which is termed as transpiration. Kinds of transpiration. The transpiration is mainly of three types as shown in this picture also: stomatal transpiration, lenticular transpiration and cuticular transpiration. So let's discuss about these three. First, cuticular transpiration. In many plants, cuticle is present. The water molecules, they diffuse into the atmosphere through the epidermal cells. But the quantity of loss will depend on the thickness of the cuticle. Thicker the cuticle, less the water loss, and thinner the cuticle, more the loss of water. This loss of water vapor through the cuticle is termed as cuticular transpiration. Out of the total amount of water which is lost from the plants, approximately 3 to 9% of the water is lost through the cuticular transpiration. Second, lenticular transpiration. Minute permanent openings are found on the woody stem. These are termed as your lenticles. So, the water lost through these lenticles in the woody stem and fruit is termed as lenticular transpiration. Some amount of water is lost continuously through these lenticles. These lenticles, they never close and they remain open all the time. Approximately 1 to 5% of the total water is lost through this lenticular transpiration. The last type of transpiration is stomatal transpiration. The leaves, they possess minute pores which are termed as your stoma or stomata, which have a guard cell. These bean-shaped cells are termed as your guard cells. So, the loss of water vapor through these microscopic pores, that is your stoma, surrounded by specialized guard cells, is termed as stomatal transpiration. Out of the total water which is lost, approximately 80 to 90% of the water is lost by stomatal transpiration. The transpiration is going to occur more from the lower side of the leaf in comparison to the upper side. The reason is because more stomatal openings are found on the lower surface of the plant leaf. Mechanism of transpiration. Transpiration is the loss of water from a plant in the form of water vapor. The water is absorbed by the roots from the soil and transported as a liquid to the leaves by the xylem. In the leaves, small pores, which are termed as stomata, allow water to escape as a vapor. Of all the water which is absorbed by the plants, less than 5% remains in the plants for the growth purpose. Now let's discuss about the transpiration, this mechanism, how it takes place inside the plant. Water is absorbed by the roots of a plant. The tiny roots help in absorption. The water is then conducted to the upper part of the plant through the xylem. The xylem cells have thick walls which can be compared to the pipes carrying water from the underground tank to all parts of the houses. The mesophyll cells in the leaf have a large intercellular spaces between them. The evaporated water vapor collects here and goes out through the stomata which open and close periodically. Water is also evaporated from the surface of the leaf through the cuticle. When the water from the outermost layer gets evaporated, it absorbs water from the layer of the cells below it, and this process creates a pull by which the water gets pulled up through the xylem. The entire movement of the water vapor from the surface of the mesophyll cells into the outside atmosphere is the result of diffusion. Ganong's Potometer. To understand the rate of transpiration, we are going to have an experiment by using the Ganong's Potometer to measure the rate of transpiration by measuring the water uptake by a leaf shoot. Set a Ganong Potometer apparatus on the flat surface. Now, fill the potometer completely with water. Make sure the potometer is completely filled up so that no air space is present in between. Now after this, we will take a plant twig and cut it obliquely. We have to cut the twig underwater to ensure that the water in the xylem elements are in continuity with water in the potometer. After this, we are going to insert the twig inside the glass tube through the hole in the cork which is fitted at the neck of the tube. Make sure that the whole setup is airtight. After this, lift the end of the capillary tube out of the water until an air bubble is formed. Then put the end into the beaker of the water. Keep the setup under the various conditions like light, shade, and under the fan. We'll observe the air bubble will move from the initial point towards the final point. It will be observed that the difference between the final reading and initial reading in different situations, in different setups is different when they are kept in light, shade, and fan. So through this experiment, it can be concluded that the rate of transpiration is different in different environmental conditions. Factors affecting transpiration. The rate of transpiration is affected both externally and internally. So let's discuss about these factors externally and internally separately. First, we are going to discuss about the external factors. The first factor is light. Light is very important factor of transpiration. In most plants, stomata open during the day. The light it also helps in increasing the temperature of the atmosphere, which is in turn increases the transpiration. The second factor is temperature. Temperature is directly affects the transpiration. As the temperature rises up to a certain limit, the rate of transpiration also increases. Very low or very high temperature can cause the closure of the stomata and hence the decline in the transpiration rate. The third factor is your humidity. Relative humidity is the rate of actual amount of water vapor present in the atmosphere and amount of the water vapor required to saturate it completely. If the relative humidity of a place is low, there is going to be a high rate of transpiration. And if the relative humidity is really very high, the transpiration is going to be the low. This relative humidity decreases with increasing temperature and increases with decreasing temperature. The next factor can be your wind. If wind velocity is high, the rate of transpiration is also high. As wind, it remains humid, removes humid air from around the leaves, due to which a difference occurs between the inside and the outside water vapor, which can be maintained through the wind. But if very high wind velocity is there, it can cause the closure of the stomata, which is going to result into a decrease in the rate of transpiration. The fifth factor can be the atmospheric pressure. Lowering of the atmospheric pressure, it reduces the density of air. This permits more rapid diffusion of the water vapors. The last topic which can be discussed as an external factor is the availability of the water. If the available water in the soil is low, the transpiration is also going to be low. Due to the deficiency of the available water, the leaves is going to wilt and stomata is going to remain closed, which finally is going to result into a decrease in the transpiration rate. Now let's discuss some internal factors also. The first internal factor which can be discussed is your leaf area. Larger the surface area of the leaf, more is going to be the transpiration rate. Second factor, leaf structure. Due to the presence of thick cuticle, waxy coating, sunken stomata, compact mesophyll cells, and the reduction in the number of the stomata, there is going to be a reduction in the rate of transpiration. The last internal factor which can be discussed is the water content of the leaves. Water content of the leaves, due to the insufficient absorption of water by roots, the water content is going to decrease, which results in a wilting of the leaves and finally the reduction in the transpiration rate also. Significance of transpiration. In general, it may be said that transpiration process contributes very little but directly to plants, and therefore it can be best described as unavoidable evil or necessary evil. Transpiration is an evil because it often produces water deficient in plants, which checks photosynthesis, reduces growth, and if too severe condition, it may cause death from desiccation. So, it is considered necessary for the plants because of its supposed role in the following. So, let's discuss some advantages and disadvantages to understand the significance of transpiration. First, we are going to discuss about the advantages. The first advantage can be transpiration is generally helpful for the conduction of water and nutrients in the plants. Second point, it helps to maintain the water balance as there is absorption and elimination. Third, transpiration helps the cells to maintain osmosis, so the cells are rigid. Fourth, due to transpiration, a suction force is produced, which helps in the conduction of water without any break. Fifth, transpiration, it maintains the turgidity of the cells and is really very helpful in the process of cell division. Sixth, the cooling effect of the trees is mainly due to water evaporation or transpiration. And lastly, if we discuss about the advantage, the last advantage would be the optimum transpiration. It always helps in the proper growth of the plant to improve the quality of the fruit. Apart from the advantages, we should discuss some disadvantages also. So the first disadvantage of transpiration can be wilting injury. The wilting results from the flaccid conditions of the leaf cells when the amount of water lost through transpiration it exceeds the amount of water absorbed through roots. It greatly reduces the yield of crop plants. The permanent wilting, if not recovered, may lead to death of the plants. The second disadvantage might be stunted growth. The excessive rate of transpiration leads to stunted growth of a plant.